I read in the paper in the story. Chapter 1 The Strangers. A shoemaker named Simon supported his family by making and repairing shoes. His poverty was so severe that he had to share an old coat with his wife. It it was terrible. It was terrible that only one of them could go out at a time during winter. He had been saving to purchase sheepskin for a new coat, and when autumn came, he had 3 loaves saved. He also had the 5 loaves and 20 kopeck owed to him by his customer in the village. One morning, Shimon gathered all his money together and went out to purchase the sheepskin. He needed to collect the money he was due, so he knocked on the door of his custom. But all he got was 20 kopeck and a pair of felt boots to repair. He felt so downhearted that he spent the 20 kopecks on vodka. Then he headed for home, trudging along slowly over the frozen earth, muttering to himself about his misfortune. It was a late twilight, and freezing cold chilled him to the marrow. About halfway home, Simon came to a holy shrine and noticed something white behind it. He strained his eye to try to make out what it was. Coming closer, he saw to his surprise that it was a naked man. Terror seized the shoemaker. He thought, "A lover have killed him and stripped him. If I get involved, I shall surely get into trouble." Simon hurried on, and after he passed, he glanced back. Then he felt more frightened than before because apparently the man was now moving and watching him. If I go back to help him, he thought, something dreadful might happen. He may jump and strangle me. And if he didn't, what could I do with him? Would I give him my own clothes and take him with me? That would be absurd. So the shoemaker went on until his conscience struck him, and he stopped in the road. "Oh, Simon, shame on you," he said to himself as he turned back. Simon saw that the stranger was a young man, fit and with no bruise on his body. He was obviously freezing and frightened. As Simon drew closer to him, the man seemed to wake up and look hard at Simon's face. That one look was enough to make Simon fond of the man. He gave his coat to the man and helped him put on the felt boots. "Dear friend," Simon said, "can you walk?" The man stood up and looked kindly at Simon, but didn't say a word. Simon asked the man where he had come from, what had happened to him, and many other questions, but all he would say in reply was, "I may not tell, and God has punished me." As Simon walked home with the stranger by his side, he worried what his wife would say. But when he looked at the stranger and remembered how he had looked up at him by the shrine, his heart was glad. Simon's wife was wondering how to make the bread last until tomorrow when Simon came in, bringing a man without her head wearing felt boots. Matriona noticed at once that her husband smelled of spirit and that he was coatless and had brought no parcel. "He's drunk the money," he thought, "and this is the layabouts he was drinking with." Simon took off his hat and sat down at the table as if everything was fine. "Come on, Matriona," he said. "If it's lady, let us have some." Matryona shouted as her anger boiled over. You went to buy sheepskin and brought back a naked fool. I have no super for drunkards who have lost their mind. That's enough, Matryona, Shimon said, as he drew the 3 rubles from the pocket. Here is the money. Trifonov didn't pay, but promised to pay soon. Matryona snatched up the money and cried, My mother was right. I should never have married you. She scolded him loudly, dragging in things that had happened 10 years before. When Matryona finally stopped, Shimon told her how he had found the man. He said, God sent him to me, or he would have died. Don't be so angry, Matryona. It is a sin. Remember, we all must die someday. Angry words rose to Matryona's lips, but she looked at the stranger and was silent. He sat on the edge of the bench, motionless, with his eyes closed and his brow knitted as if he was in pain. Simon said, Matryona, have you no love of God? Matryona heard his words, and as she looked at the stranger, her heart suddenly softened toward him. She went to the oven and brought out the last piece of bread. Eat, if you wanna, she said, touched with pity for a stranger. At once the stranger raised his eyes, smiled brightly at her. When they had finished supper, the woman cleared away the scene and began questioning the stranger, but all she heard was that God had punished him. Matryona felt upset when they lay in bed at night, thinking that there was no bread for tomorrow, but when she remembered how the stranger had smiled, her heart felt glad. When Shimon woke up in the morning, his wife had gone to neighbors to get some bread, and the stranger was sitting alone looking upward. Shimon said to the stranger, What work do you do? I don't know how to work, he said. What is your name? Mikhail. Well, if you don't want to talk about yourself, that's your business, but you will have to earn a living. If you work as I tell you, I will give you food and shelter. May God reward you. I will learn. Show me what to do. Shimon took some thread, wrapped it around his thumb, and began to twist it. Mikhail watched him and did it exactly the same way. Whatever Shimon showed him, he understood at once, and after 3 days, he worked as if he had swan boots all his life. He worked without stopping, ate little, and when work was over, he sat silently looking upward. After a year, people began to say that no one could make such neat, strong boots as Mikhail. His fame spread all over the area, and many people came to him to have their boots made.